I got it.
Oh,
Yeah, you can hold it.
thank God.
I've got a bunch of notes in there if you want to flip through
Cool,
it.
cool. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm about to like kind of dig into this thing and see what's going on. Because I mean, well, I'll listen to y'all talk about it, and then I'll have probably questions. I got it.
You see the people? You say hi?
All right, we are live. Hey, Charlie.
She wanted to say hi. Yeah.
Hey, Charlie.
She's turning her head side to side. She's like, hey, who's calling my name? Remember Alex? Yeah.
Right, she translated it from like Spanish, right?
All right, we are live. Welcome, Alice, to the book club. We got a full table tonight. Thank you all for being here.
Welcome.
Big preach. So this was one Jessica recommended to me. We're talking about Tinder is the Flesh tonight. Single-handedly the most fucked up thing I've ever read. That being said, I did really enjoy it. It was a good read. It's just a lot.
Did it get somewhere by the end? I mean, like, was there an arc for the main guy or whatever?
Oh man, you think you know?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
And then no.
So he's given a live specimen, and then he starts to form a connection with the live specimen, who is obviously another person.
Yeah. So Chance hasn't read it. He's just sitting in with us today. So I'm gonna give kind of a brief rundown in case Alice hasn't read it either. So this is about a dystopian future where their meat is outlawed. Also, the government is putting out this propaganda that animals have diseases and you can't eat them.
Okay, right.
So they go on like just this genocide of destroying all the animals.
Okay.
And then they start pushing human meat onto people.
Who's they? Like the world governments?
What yeah.
Fuck.
Overpopulation. So they wanted to control that.
Oh, fucking
yeah. So they basically start saying that there's some sort of virus that's going around that's making all animals inedible and causing them to be violent. So they start mass extinction on animals to then start with humans, which AKA is just their form of population control. It's basically, if you kind of think like 1984, but with people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So. Yeah, it's a lot more of that. Yeah, so they tell him to eat people, but they don't call them people. So again, that double speak. You're not supposed to use the word human. You're not supposed to use the word people.
Oh my God. That's actually kind of deep, man, because that gets down to like you start changing the definitions of words, and then we're all fucked in a way. You know what I mean? Like they push that line to the point to where people start referring to others when you start othering people. You know what I mean? Like during the Holocaust, like what the Nazis did, like the way that they othered the Jews, like turned it into like they didn't consider them killing other people. They didn't even think of it that way.
That's the big part of this for me is the rhetoric. Like the craziest part about it to me was the way they're able to dehumanize the process. Because you have like it's factory farming. You have like these huge lots of cattle that then get processed the same way you would do anything else. And this book does not spare any details. Like there's a couple of chapters actually, where he's just taking newbies through a tour, so you get to see the entire process from start to finish.
But then it turns into the whole human interest of like, because there's people out there that know what's going on, like it shows there's one guy that needs the job, one that's actually qualified for it, and the third one is basically like trying to be like a journalist because he wants to see the process. But the main character has been doing it for so long, he easily can tell what three are what. And so he kind of does it on purpose as they're going through the tour to really like get to them, to show like, you know, this isn't a job for everybody, but this is what we have to do whether you like it or not.
And the guy who likes to do it too much, he's like, you're definitely not working here.
Yeah. Well, the guy that's showing extreme interest in it is the one that he finds out is just going on the tour to go on the tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he finds out, because he keeps asking these certain questions and the way his face is lighting up on it, he realizes that he's mainly there to see the inner workings of the factories than actually
he's a fucking psychopath
needing a job.
Right. Okay. So they're like, oh my God, Jesus, there's a lot of layers to this. Just in that, I may have to
actually. I actually got this book from a good friend of mine. I'm actually wearing her band T-shirt right now. I didn't even plan that. Her name is Leandra Graves. She has a TikTok online that she reads horror books and does reviews of them. And so she had done one of it. And so I was like, well, that sounds interesting. So then I picked it up and I think I finished it in like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, it seems like
yeah. And then I immediately told Alex, I was like, okay, you have to read this book.
I'm really glad you did, because I'm glad I read that. We have some interesting perspective here too, because David read it in Spanish.
Oh,
really?
Were you able to finish it in English, David?
Yeah, I finished it in English today, but originally I read it in Spanish like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So
the author is Spanish, correct?
Yeah.
It was translated. So was there a difference in was there anything that was lost in translation to you?
Nothing too important, just a few minor details. Like the original title is called Cadáver Exquisito, and that's like exquisite cadaver.
Okay.
So what's funny is that in the book, his sister has 2 kids, and they're both playing a video game called Exquisite Cadaver. So the title of the book is actually name dropped in the book, but they keep the translation. So like they never mention tender as the flesh, but yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
Nice.
They should have just called it.
The culture.
They should have just called it Exquisite Cadaver. That's such a better name.
Right.
But the only other difference is remember the portion when they were doing the like the man hunting area, like where they're trophy hunting for dudes.
Oh yeah.
There's like a dude over there who kind of like he talks a lot of English because he's trying to be cool or whatever, but you can't get that in the translation because everything's already like in English. And then his sister does that too, because so there's this thing in Spanish speaking cultures where if you're trying to be hip and cool, you like throw random English words just randomly or whatever, just to seem like you're like well read or whatever. And she tends to do that because I mean his sister's kind of like full of herself.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was considered like hoity-toity. Like I've heard like Spanish speaking like friends of mine even do it like in their families, like when I was in their homes, you know.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah.
That's a thing in Japanese too. It's like throwing in English,
showing that you're bilingual, know more than one thing. Well, then I'm wondering if it was maybe the reason why the English translation for the title is because of his involvement with the herd animal, the human, as you would the food, the product.
The main character?
No, the main character is a dude, but the flesh that he like bonds with is it a man?
Oh yeah, it's a woman,
it's
and
a woman.
Important part of the book.
Okay, yeah,
because she gets pregnant.
Oh fucking A!
Which is like super.
Yes. Oh dude, shit.
Which is like very very illegal in their society. Because this is livestock. You can't.
Right.
They one of my favorite parts is it's like people. They talk about how people at one point, because you can just have all this cattle and you can have it yourself. You don't have to get it from a factory.
Oh, what the fuck?
So you can breed keep them in people? You can keep them in your barn and breed them, milk them. I guess I didn't think about that, but but also there was a thing they talk about how there was a point where people were like, well, I have all this here. I'm just going to use them for manual labor also. And they're like, that's slavery. That's fucked up.
No fucking way.
That's bad.
That's part of the argument. Like, come on.
Yeah, you can kill them and eat them.
It was livestock.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do anything with them. You can't have sex with them. You can't.
Wild. Well, I guess if it's coming from like a population control angle too, I guess like the people who are actually living that aren't livestock need the jobs. So of course they wouldn't let them work. I guess that does make sense.
Yeah, but the main reason why they do it, and it's underlining, but they kind of explain it, is that when you start to use them as like slaves or like house cleaning items, they're bred specifically to be low intelligence, to slightly be aware, like the most primal form of human. So they're not aware really of like, they're primal, so they know there's something going on. Like Alex, I'm sure Alex will get into like what they do to the pregnant ones in order to keep them pregnant to reproduce. But you don't want you using them for other things, because then they'll become smart and then they can revolt against. They want to keep them at their most primal, stupid level in order to keep mass producing meat.
That's kind of what they're doing to us. Like in reality, like make us as dumb and docile as possible. And part of that is convenience. Like if we have it really good, there's no reason to think about things.
Yeah.
To go outside the box and do more for yourself. But I mean, for these ones, they can't even do anything for themselves. Like they literally they're cattle. They're chickens.
They cut their cords out.
Fuck.
So they can't.
No fucking way.
And they can't communicate with each other, which they do have some shorthand.
Wild. Okay, so they've developed like something. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of like resistance underground movement in this society? Is there any indication that like there are people who are going against this in the story?
No, they don't show that, because they've been doing it for so long that again they're literally like
alternate history, or is it like way far in the future?
Further in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not too far. Like they're dealing with like climate change. They dealt with the population shit. Like imagine our world, but everything's just slightly worse.
Got it.
Or more worse, but
well said.
And there's an undertone of fear. Even the people that are working in the industry, there's an undertone of fear with all those folks, because the fact of the matter is they know that if they don't go along with the process, they end up on a plate somewhere tomorrow, right? Yeah. So there's this fear that runs through the book as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the that's the stated punishment for having sex with the cattle is you get sent to the slaughterhouse too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's,
I mean, like
straight capital punishment.
If they find out exactly. If they find out you're having any sort of relations with it, or if, for example, he was gifted the female, so he was supposed to register it, either use it to produce meat, or use it for meat himself. And if you don't do that and you're harboring it, that can also be punishable by going to the slaughterhouse yourself, because you're not actually using the product.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah. We're ripping Trance's mind apart right now.
My God.
And if you're gonna be
cultural, it's enforced by if you don't buy into this, if you don't make yourself a willing participant, you're going to be an unwilling participant on the cattle end.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Same thing goes for if you like. There's the part when he's at his sister's and they're doing the party, and like if you don't eat it, people will look at you weird. If you talk about it as it being a human and that keeps getting reported, you get reported and then you disappear.
Wow.
So again, that's why I said it has a very similar ties in a lot of way of like the 1984 like double speak, like all that kind of stuff, the Big Brother watching.
Right. And everyone's reporting on everybody else.
Everybody, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, if you're not eating it, it's suspicious. Like why like this is fine. Everybody does it. Why aren't you doing it? Mm-hmm. You start to get the side eye.
And people will enforce that themselves because you're making them comfortable. You're making them feel bad about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So of course they're gonna report you. Yeah. And like when you get punished and turned into food, it's just that you've now been demoted from being a person because they don't eat people. So in order for you,
they're eating just meat.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
So if you've been sent away to be turned into meat, you are no longer a person, because that would be wrong. We can't eat people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Did you find
today? Not like I'm getting on a platform or anything, but we have different names for cow and pig for the food that we eat today. For the
call it pork instead of right.
Yeah.
So Liz, that's something I said to Alex when I saw him over the weekend. I made the comment. I said, I think the author in this book tries to go so extreme to describe the slaughter process, the butchering process, how we cut things up and put it in different plates labeled with fingers and all those things. I think he went out of his way to make that a point. And Liz, I think there is a tie there. I think there is an animal rights piece to this. They're trying to disgust you so much by this that they realize that you really begin to understand that's what we do to animals.
Right.
And I think that was intentional, even though it was never stated anywhere. I think that was very intentional.
You could see that.
Yeah.
Totally see that.
Yeah. So back to the process of how they're doing this, because these are people, so they're intelligent. It's hard to keep people as livestock.
But they're not just lobotomizing them or something.
What they're doing is they're keeping them isolated.
Yeah.
All of them are artificially inseminated. They don't let them breed with each other.
Weird. Okay.
Because
yeah. All right. Okay.
And then the females are, this is so fucked up.
Delimbed.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Delimbed.
Fuck.
They found out that like if they're pregnant, they will try and ram their bellies against the wall, do whatever they can so their children won't have to go through this hell.
Right. So then they just fucking turn them into quadriplegics basically, and just a womb with a head.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Reactions in the future.
You're getting the book all at once.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. We're just trauma dumping the book on you right now. So
shit, I'm not gonna lie, but like this is definitely by far. This would have been something that I would have struggled to get through as much as I struggled to get through something like Hellraiser.
Wow. Yeah.
Or certain Chuck Palahniuk books, for example. So what did you guys think of it? I mean, I got Rusty, and then
I thought one of the most both chilling and accurate and parts of the book was the human's dynamic in terms of people's ability to deny things that are going on, to use language to euphemize and cover up things that they don't want to think about. And the ending, which we will go into in more detail later, but people's ability to stick to some assert some principle or sort of semi-live out some principle up until the point at which it is to their great benefit to abandon it, at which point they do.
Okay.
Anyway, I just thought I thought it was a not very flattering reflection of people, but an accurate one. I thought that was one of the things I thought most affecting about the book.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did the rest of y'all just think about the book in general, I guess?
I mean, I agree a lot with that statement. I feel too, one of the biggest things that like and I think this shows me as a animal person that I took back is like how these people can detach themselves so much from another person and be like, well, no, this is food, it's fine. But there is a scene in an abandoned zoo that he finds the puppies, and then teenage boys end up finding the puppies. And the main character, it shows like how much humanity, but he also doesn't have humanity. He has humanity for the puppies, but not so much the other human, even himself, even though he says like this, he keeps going back and forth. This is wrong, but this is okay. We're supposed to, whatever. But these puppies, he treats well. He's nice to all this until the mom shows up. He has to run. And these teenage boys end up finding the puppies, and they don't care. They destroy them because they've been taught since they were young that animals are like they have the virus. They have all this stuff. They have no mercy whatsoever. So it just shows how the mass population has no mercy, whether it's technically another human or an animal, if it's not them.
Interesting. Okay.
And that mirrors life as well. Even though we treat pets better than that, we don't treat livestock better than that.
Yeah.
That is how we treat livestock. Right. Yeah, no, there's definitely some animal rights.
Undertone in it. Yeah.
For sure. Which, like, anytime I have lots of friends that are vegetarian and vegan, and every time I have that conversation, I'm like, you are 100% right. Like, I cannot argue with that at all. It's fucked up. It's so fucked up what we do, especially because it's not necessary. Like, is this completely unnecessary? We don't have to do any of this.
Well, I mean, it's necessary to a point because it's gotten us to where we are now, because we know that meat protein is what developed our brains in order for us to be where we're at. But it's the mass production of it all that it should be handled better and more ethically. Yeah, because I mean, that's how we're having this conversation now, is due to meat protein.
I'm not saying that it wasn't necessary. It was.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's one of those things, though, that, like, that's the hard part about it. Because, like, I was vegan for about, like, 9 years, but then medically I could not, because I was getting even though I was doing everything I should. And that's kind of the hard part, is, like, we now are reliant on that. But I think it does have a very good undertone on, like, you know, the meat industry is real messed up. Like, you know, there should be something done about it, but of course we're not doing anything about it, because, like we said, they're trying to make us our own livestock and cattle and complacent and unaware of what's going on.
You know, Jessica, to that point, think back, and I don't know what year it was. Think back when mad cow disease was out there, and Oprah Winfrey on her television show made the comment, with this out there like that, it makes me not want to eat another burger. Do you remember what happened when she said that on television? The meat industry came after her and they sued her for $12 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So there's a reality situation to show how strong industry is if you say the wrong things or do the wrong things. Now, she ended up winning in the court later on, but the fact of the matter is they came after her because she voiced an opinion that was different than theirs. And you know, that's in this book, right? If you voice opinion that's different than ours, we're going to take care of you. And that happened in real life, right? So if we
same with the employees for Tyson Chicken that worked for McDonald's when they started filming inside of the Tyson Chicken farms.
Yeah.
And they were seeing like 42 chickens to a 1-by-1 box.
Yeah,
exactly.
At the time when I was
it was the super small cage, and they were keeping like upwards of like 10 chickens to a flipping cage.
Yeah.
And the employees that work for Tyson, but also journalists, they like got hired and they filmed the inside of these factories that, you know, the Tyson Chicken provided for McDonald's. It got out, and then they made those people's lives like an absolute living hell and sued the living shit out of them.
Yeah. I guess
that was said explicitly in this book, that the government was not really enforcing this or not really 100% behind the, you know, people as meat, until meat industry lobbyists essentially prevailed on the government and you know, pressured the government to make it legal, which they did. I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about, Rusty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the virus real, or is the virus just like a fucking psyop?
I think it's not. I think it's not real.
I think, yeah, I agree with Alex. I think it's a psyop, because there's this other thing in the book that they do, is that when you go outside, you're supposed to walk with an umbrella to protect yourself from the birds.
Because if they shit on you could get the virus.
Which seems a little space mask.
Or the birds or the virus makes them so aggressive that they're going to attack you. And the main character makes a point to not walk outside with an umbrella, and everybody's looking at him like he's crazy and like, oh my God, but nothing ever happened.
Okay.
Hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's very face mask during the pandemic to me.
Yes.
Like, wow, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
So fuck, because see, I read like the synopsis and I got the virus part. I got that there's a virus that's made animals inedible and dangerous, and so that's why this has happened. But I didn't get. I kept wondering, like, so now that answers my question. Okay. Fuck.
But then, for example, like, bring back to the puppy situation. He meets these puppies. There's like a litter of them. They're cute. He's playing with them. He's thinking in his head like, oh, can I get the virus? He goes, but they're not being aggressive. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. But then, of course, the pack of adults dogs, wild dogs, and see that he's around the puppies, and they chase him out, and he's running thinking like, oh, maybe once they get older infected, or he's like, or maybe they're just protecting the puppies.
Their instinct.
Yeah. And so it's also showing you like, and then he goes into like the whole kind of, is it a psyop sort of situation?
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, that's the question the main character goes through.
That does come up.
Is any of this real?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never said, which I love. I love that they don't tell you straight up whether it is or not.
Yeah, because he's not like some main character and like trying to solve the conspiracy or anything.
Right.
He's just like a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
Very,
because he's like he works like kind of high up for all these meat industry people, like going around and like basically like a middleman in these businesses for these meat industries.
But it's not like he's Charlton Heston and Soylent Green, where it's like Soylent Green is people at the end. Like at the end, he's just a guy who's...
Oh, there's a whole other side story we haven't even gotten to that deals with him.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jessica. You got it.
Well, so his wife has left him. So he's alone and he drinks and he's sad. And so his wife has left him. And they keep leading and leading and leading. You come to find out that their child died. And the wife couldn't handle it. So she leaves the house to live with her mother. And because he's sad about that, and he's got this female in the house, well, outside, and then he slowly brings her inside, and then he starts to have affections. Yeah, he brings the human inside.
Okay.
You wouldn't bring a cow inside.
No, I get it. Again, like little details, like they said, I'm getting it all at once. So like every time you guys bring a new detail, I'm like,
well,
wait.
It goes little by little the way he does it, because again, he's himself struggling with like, I can see empathy and sympathy and sadness in their face, but also I've been doing this for years. I work with this, this is my product that I work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, he slowly but surely brings her into the house, and then he like gives her a bedroom. He puts clothes on her. He feeds her. He teaches her basic things to where her mental capacity is about of like a toddler-ish.
Got it.
And he keeps her in this room. He's got cameras to watch her, all this, and then he becomes like intimate with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then finally, he, like Alex said, he ends up knocking her up.
Yeah.
And he's excited because he's like, okay, like
lost a child, he's like even more excited. Like I could totally see that in a person.
Right. Well, also his wife keeps saying like, I'll come home eventually. I'll come home eventually. So when he, knocks up the human and finds out he's gonna have a baby and like another like chance at a family, he's basically like, all right, tapped out on my wife. She's never coming home. I'm gonna live this life now.
Right.
And then they throw another twist at you. Then the wife is like, comes home.
Oh fuck! Does she find the pregnant?
She's
livestock.
When she gets there, he calls her and is like, "I need you."
Calls her
right now. And when she gets there, she's like delivering the baby.
Oh fuck!
Yeah. So he caves and calls her because she's having trouble delivering the baby. Okay, and the wife is a nurse.
That's also a great story beat. Okay, interesting. So then what does the wife do? Does the wife help or does the wife not?
She helps.
Yeah, because again, she lost a baby. So like the human instinct to actually nurture and survive in people.
Well, and help, she's a nurse too, so just to help somebody, to help a person that's in need.
But does she know that this is like livestock when she's delivering the baby, or does she find?
Oh yeah.
They're
they're branded or something as well
on the face.
Yeah, they're branded on their forehead as well, so that they're livestock, like they're marked.
Yeah.
So
besides, they have
no question. We're talking about that specific relationship, but you mentioned his wife, and we talked about his sister a little bit earlier. Did you notice that sorry, my cat's trying to climb on me. Did you notice that every relationship in this book is really screwed up? The wife is gone. The sister, God, he hates his sister, right? He despises her. He has sex with the woman at the plant. The
other butcher.
The butcher. He has sex with her, in the butcher shop. And then the whole thing with Jasmine as it kind of develops there. Every relationship is really screwy. There's not a normal one in this, and
he has a really bad relationship with his niece and nephew. Like,
yes,
yeah, fuck
Those kids are monsters.
But, yeah, those kids fucking suck.
Yes.
They're playing video games that are indoctrinating them into the system. Like, fuck.
They're complete sociopaths.
Which
they're completely indoctrinated. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Whoa, dude. Okay, wait. So does she have a name? The breeder,
Her
the
name
livestock.
Is Jasmine.
That's Jasmine.
He gives her a name. Okay.
He gives her a name. Yeah.
He smells like Jasmine.
Yeah.
She probably has like a number before that or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, something like
whatever's branded on their head. Yeah, they have like they have a code.
That's
and well, he also gets away with it. Here's the thing, too, Chance. He gets away with having her for so long without having her registered because again, he's worked for like years in this system, and again, they track this livestock so well is that when somebody from another factory or a farm gives you a livestock, you have they report it and you have X amount of days to register it. Okay. So when the one guy gave it to him as like a thank you in order for their plant to buy more livestock from from them, the government does a government official comes to his house going, hey, we know so-and-so farm gave you this female. We need to check on it, and we need to know that you've registered it. But she's already at this point, in the house.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, oh, he makes up all these excuses. And luckily he's like, oh, I know so-and-so. They're like, well, so-and-so doesn't work for us anymore. And he's like, well, I know. So he does all this stuff. And luckily they just don't question him. Because then finally somebody who's a higher up goes, oh, yeah, he's well known in the business. Don't worry about him. It's fine.
Huh.
But the people that are coming to check on him to make sure his female is registered are kind of side-eyeing him like, okay, where is this female? What is he doing? What's going on? But they can't ask any questions because they're listening to the higher up. So it's like, oh, if they say he's fine, then he's fine.
There's a chain of command there. So basically, it's like a kickback for like a business deal is essentially.
Yeah, that's how that's how he got her in the first place.
And at that point when he was given her as a gift, he had gone vegetarian. Because he works in
that was going to be my next question. Yeah. Are there people that are vegetarians in this society?
So get this. He's he's the second in command of the processing plant.
Okay.
So they work with all these farms. No. Like all these farms they work with to get the cattle.
Right.
And so he's really high up. So he is kind of running operations, but mostly he's cutting deals.
Yeah.
And one of the farms gives him this super high quality female as a gift, and he's pissed because he's like, I don't want he's not okay with what's happening. This is just his job.
Yeah.
Like David said, he's a cog in the machine.
Right.
He's not trying to fix things.
Right.
He's not like a hero.
Right.
But he does not. He understands what he's doing is wrong, and it sickens him. So then he's given this gift and he's like, fuck, because no one at his job knows he's a vegetarian. That's really taboo, especially in the industry.
Okay
right?
I got it. Okay,
so that there's lots of times near the end there's a point where there is also it's so fucked up. There are businesses you can go to hunt for sport.
Oh fuck.
Oh yeah.
Right shit, fuck, dude.
And they even talk about people with money, if they're in real bad debt, they can go to this place
and try to survive
to pay off their debt.
And the rock star almost made it.
Oh yeah, and there's a rock star who was in a bunch of debt. Yeah.
Oh
he almost made it. Almost.
Oh,
he got to the end and they got him.
This is the most. These are the most the worst people in the society is these people that are hunting people for sport.
Yeah, dude.
So he's at that house cutting the deal because that's one of their biggest, not suppliers, but one of their biggest clients that they sell to.
Right.
And he has to do this dinner party, which is all meat, which is all people. So he's eating fingers, and he's like, I fucking really don't want to do this, but I have to. And he eats it and he's like, God damn, that's good.
Fuck.
He's like, fuck, I forgot how good that is.
This guy hasn't had meat.
The way they cook it, because he was like, he knew that the dinner party that he was at, like, it was going to be really well cooked. The chef that they had, all that, and he finally caves, and he's like, "Oh, I remember why it's so good."
Oh,
and then
guy running the reserve too, like, wants to order more impregnated females.
Yeah, they fight back.
Oh yeah,
because they fight back to protect their babies. They want more, pregnant females to hunt because they're more intense. To hunt down.
No fucking way, dude.
yeah,
I'm gonna have fun sleeping tonight. I'm sorry, buddy.
That is so intense. No, I mean, I've read some really fucked up books. Like I read a book called Rant about a guy who just drove around and took babies, but like this is the most fucked up story I've ever heard.
Rant is one of my favorites. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to read it now because so my final question, then I'll let you guys discuss and I'll quit interrupting you, is so like you do get his internal monologue throughout this situation. Like you see, okay, all right. Like, and then you so I'm gonna quit interrupting.
Oh, but you didn't even mention at the place where they hunt humans, he has like trophy heads.
Oh yeah,
mounted on the wall.
They have heads of the different ones.
Yeah, I've actually forgot about that, Liz. That was a good point about he wants pregnant females to hunt because they have better survival skills.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild. And that's so true.
It's so true. And
wanted ones that were not just pregnant, but like pregnant beyond a certain number of weeks, because I think they cut out the fetus and eat it as well.
Yeah, because they say that's like one of the most delicate, like good, like delicacies or whatever.
The 2-for-1.
Bless.
The 2-for-1.
It's awful. Absolutely awful.
Okay.
And they're like a pregnant female of like high quality is like basically the most expensive meat you could buy.
Yeah.
So they're like these are like the upper echelon, like top tier.
The 1%.
Yeah. Man. Okay, so he eats the meat. And then like the very next thing that happens is he drives home. And there is Jasmine, who's been there for like a long time without him. And she goes into labor. And so then he calls over his wife, and they deliver the baby, and then we get into the ending.
Well, so the baby is a boy, which they had lost, and they're like, "Oh, he's perfect." That's a big point on it, because I think it, like, if, for example, if it was a girl, I think it would be a lot different. Don't you think?
What do you mean?
Well, okay, remember, they both lost their son, right? Him and his wife. Jasmine gives birth to a boy, and there's the description of when she finally delivers him, and his wife is like, "Oh, he's perfect, he's beautiful," and is talking about it being a little boy. And he says at that moment he can kind of see his wife going back to when their son was alive. For example, if it wasn't a little girl, and then if it was a little girl, and then I don't think the next chain of events maybe wouldn't have happened.
Oh, wow.
If the sex had matched the sex of the baby they had.
So the sex of the baby did match. I'm saying if it didn't match, the next chain of events might not have happened. If it wasn't a little boy and he wasn't perfect, and,
So they keep the baby, but then he kills her and drags her off to the fucking barn, basically. I literally just read like the last chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it ends.
They keep the baby. Well, and there's a very, very sad part of like Jasmine obviously trying to take her baby, and they are keeping her from the baby and then drag her out.
Yeah, she's trying to hold her baby.
Yeah.
And
I just read it.
Oh man, dude, he soothes her first.
Yeah.
So think about that for a second, Alex. Think about the soothing. That's something I wrote down. Think about when you take a pet to have a pet put down. What do?
You hold it, you talk to it, tell it everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's okay, right? That's what he tells her right before he knocks her in the head. He's soothing the pet, right? He is soothing the pet. And then the last line is, "She had the human look of a domesticated animal."
Yeah,
So he still didn't view her as human, even though he had humanized her to the point of having a kid with her. But he didn't view her as human at all, even at the very end, which
that,
to me was as twisted as eating the people and all that. That was a twisted thing to me, but unbelievable.
And now they have a child and his wife is back. Like, fuck me.
Yeah, everything kind of in the most fucked up horrible way. These are not people that deserve this, but everything works out for them. Like they get what they wanted.
The soothing part's also a callback to back in the factory scene where they're showing you how they like knock them out first. Every guy who's like an executioner, the equivalent of an executioner, they have their own soothing song or a little thing they do before they do it. And so
to grab their attention, so when they go to knock them out, they're not like startled or scared. Because when they're scared, it's the same thing as animal meat. When they're scared and you murder them, it makes the meat taste bad.
Right.
So the soothing, and
that's a thing, like a real thing. And they used to call them, in the slaughterhouses, they called those guys knockers. Back in the day, they used to do it with sledgehammers.
Seriously, that's basically what they do in this.
Yeah. See, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's basically what they do in this. That's basically what they are in this. It's the same method.
Holy dude.
Yeah.
Alex has read my mind.
So the I want to talk about that last thing that happens some more. So what you just said, Jess, I hadn't thought about. It might have gone differently if she delivered a girl.
Yeah.
Instead of a boy. It was my thought that he had been planning this from the very beginning. But
I thought the same thing once I was reading it. I was like, oh shit, was this something that they were hiding the entire time, but he was planning to do this to basically get his wife back?
Okay. It sounded like what you were just saying made me think, though, maybe this was a sporadic decision. So what do y'all think about that? Do you think he had been basically the reason he was taking care of Jasmine was for this reason, like, or was that a split second decision? What do y'all think?
I think it was a split second decision because he just was like missing his wife and he went out and had sex with Jasmine in the barn and like happened to impregnate her. And he was like, well, that's convenient. I guess I gotta like figure out what to do now. So, there wasn't really much of a choice for him, right? Like it was like, I mean, that was against the law. So his only choice was to like adopt the kid basically and treat it as his own, and it was convenient for him with his wife being gone.
I think she's right. Based on so the last chapter is chapter 19, but the last line of the chapter before that, it says he wants to pity the scavengers, to be sorry about Lucido's fate, but he doesn't feel a thing. So obviously he knows he should feel bad, but he doesn't actually feel bad, even up to the last fucking point of this book before the last.
I think you're right though on the fact that like his impulses took control because he kind of was leading up to that. You're like, don't do it, don't sleep with her, and then he ends up having sex with her, finds out she's pregnant, and he's like, well, and I think because he is dealing with a lot of turmoil of knowing like his son died, his wife is sad, his wife won't come back, she won't contact him, so he's also looking for companionship. So he was like, okay, well, I guess this is my new companionship now. I'm going to have to live this lie or whatever. But then he has to rely on his wife to come back to save his quote unquote new life. But then again, bringing it back to the baby, when the baby's born, it's a boy. He sees that reaction on his wife's face. He'd rather have the original thing back. He's like, he wants to have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I think it was a thing of convenience with the baby. I don't think it was planned. I going back to what Liz said, I don't think it was planned. I think he, it just kind of worked out that way. And then when it became the convenient thing, all of a sudden it's like, like you just said, Jess, he said, hey, I want this back. I want the original thing back. And so I think it was just a convenient thing that happened in the end.
So he did care about Jasmine up until the point that his wife was there and he had a son again, and he just completely his empathy towards her just shut off. I mean, like
that's what I was gonna ask. Like, were you all surprised about that? That kind of caught me off guard because it felt like he was in love with Jasmine on some level.
Oh,
it caught me off guard a little bit. Yeah,
I didn't expect that at all.
The way it's written is very concise. I mean, it's one of those things I had to reread it twice just sitting here. Like, did I just read that right? It's just 2 paragraphs. And it's like, baby's born. He soothes her. He sings her the song. He grabs her by the hair because she reaches out for the baby, and bam.
It especially, I didn't see that coming because you think the whole time you're reading this, you think this is his redemption arc. At least I did. I thought this is him waking up to the horrors of reality, and he's going to do something about it. This is like a revolution book. No.
Not at all.
No. Not at all.
Because it's actually it's actually the opposite for me. I actually expected it. But
Okay.
that's because it just gave me the vibe, and I can, because I can relate to him. I feel like maybe in the right situations I might be like him, because I see eating animals and meat as like something that's clearly horrible, but I'm still doing it.
Yes, I see
And I
that,
think,
because
and
like oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, no, I was just gonna end it by saying, but yeah, like it's supposed to be almost like a reflection of the reader if they're still like part of that system, because it doesn't just have to be meat eating, but like capitalism or just any other like system that you're just kind of like you're broken down, you just live with it.
Yeah, like like I was saying earlier, anytime I have a conversation about animal rights and like ethical meat consumption, I'm like, this is wrong, but also I'm not going to change it.
Right.
Like I'm not going to change my lifestyle. I'm just not going to. And it's really easy to see if you grew up in that culture, how you would just accept it even if you know it's wrong. Which that's what everyone knows, this is human meat. They're just lying to themselves. Like
but think about when you're listening or like reading about the interactions with the nieces and the nephews and the teenagers that interact with the puppies, because they have been born into it versus the adults that kind of lived when it turned into this.
The younger
Those kids,
no empathy at all.
right? These kids, like the lingo in which they use in that game that they were playing when the mom tells them to stop, when they're talking about like eating him or something or whatever. I forget exactly what it was. But again, the kids, there's no wrong or right or any like conscience on it. They straight up just think you're a sissy or you're dumb or you're weird or there's something wrong with you if you don't think this is okay.
You know, and the weirdness about that, I don't know, to me too, is like that it is said from things that I've read about cannibals and cannibalism or whatever, that like that literally causes human beings to kind of go mad. Like,
oh, that's the brain. Eating brains. There's a specific name for that. Yeah, I can't remember.
Of course you know.
Say what?
Prion disease.
Yes.
Oh, of course Hyatt would know.
Exactly. And then if you're passing that on genetically, like if the mother is eating human meat and then that's all they're consuming and that's what the fetus is getting, like imagine what that would do to the fetus.
Yeah. There's actually, isn't there a thing in the book about brains?
Yeah. They talk about how they don't eat it or something, or how they eat it. They only eat it a certain way, or.
And that's how you get prion disease. Is like, I think it's a protein that like
acts like a virus that attacks.
Yeah. It's like if you ingest it, it's a weird thing. It's almost like it flips the polarity of the proteins or something like that, and it just causes things to break down in your brain.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's not even like another, like a bacterium or another organism. It's almost like there's a protein that's like flipped the other way, and it just causes this chain reaction.
And it most of the time can cause like zombification, but it can also cause you to go mad, you know, and like lose it. But mainly it causes like a zombification sort of thing.
Okay.
Like a delirium, almost rabies like situation.
Yeah, for sure. That was what mad cow is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, same thing.
That's really interesting.
Because they were feeding cows
parts of other cows.
Yeah, parts of other cows, including like offcuts from slaughterhouses.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting about I never thought about how proteins they're more similar to a virus than anything, because it's not a bacteria. It's not like, not to derail on this too much, but like, Hyatt, what is a protein? Is it like, what is it similar to?
It's been a while since I took organic chemistry. So
is it like, yeah, go ahead.
It's like a complex chemical. I think it's probably like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and if I had to guess, nitrogen. I can't remember. But it's a structure thing, and proteins fold in certain ways. Like they have these weird structures, and the way they fold up is partially responsible for how they behave, like mechanically in your body.
And they behave, they do things, they move, they interact.
Well, to a degree, it's almost as if you had like you know, like you have a straight piece of wire and it does one thing, but if you wrap it up and form it into a spring, then it has completely different properties. Even that it's not doing things on its own, but it's just it's a material. But if you configure it in a different way, it has different properties, kind of like that.
So it's a building block.
Gotcha. So like a bacteria or a parasite is like different, where it is like it is doing things. It is
a bacterium is alive, like it's a living virus. Yeah. Kind of like a computer virus. It's just basically it doesn't do anything. Like it's inert. It's essentially just DNA in a protein shell. Like it just floats on. It doesn't think about it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go over here and do anything. It's like a computer virus. I mean, it just floats around until it runs into something. Then it's like automatic instructions. It's almost like this weird little biological machine.
Yeah. Okay. Like, not to get too heavy on it, just to use like an example, because it happened to me, is COVID. They found out COVID, the virus, had a certain spike protein in it that for certain people it attached to you and it actually caused hair loss. Like I was shedding like crazy, like 2 to 3 months after I had like really bad bout of COVID. Like I'd grab my hair and like handfuls were coming out, and that was due to a certain spike protein. A lot of viruses have spike proteins, so hence the brain eating the brain, that certain protein probably has a spike protein in it that then you're eating it, your body is, same like when you have like white blood cell, it attacks you. So that protein that you're ingesting is then attacking what's ever going on, and then it's going up here and screwing everything up.
Yeah.
It's more of like a spike protein because, like Dave was saying, virus has a form of protein floating around it to just do its mission of attaching to whatever it's supposed to attach to attack.
Do you know technically viruses aren't even alive though?
That's where kind of was trying to figure out, is if proteins is like
no.
They're just a compound, like a building block.
Like a little robot. It has no life, but it does.
But is a virus alive?
Viruses don't have DNA. They only have RNA.
I've heard both of these arguments. I've heard that a virus is alive, and I've heard
we're getting sidetracked.
But, I got to go soon, but I got 2 points to make, and then I'll.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, something that I found interesting, for the first half of the book, up until he like actually has sex with Jasmine, at no point does he describe the way another like human looks like as in the meat they eat.
Wow.
Like he's never described like, oh, they have this color hair, they look like this, because you wouldn't do the same for a cow. If you're like working in the cattle farm, it's just another cow.
Yeah.
And then the second point is the way they do their meat in this book is actually very Latino. And what I mean by that is in Latino cultures we use like everything in the cow. So like the tongue,
the eyes,
lengua.
We take the stomach, we cut it into pieces, we boil it to get rid of like all the feces and all that stuff, and we make that into stews and a bunch of other stuff. And I mean, technically in Western cultures they do that too. The only difference is they turn them into hot dogs.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's that called? Pig or the intestine? Cow.
Well, there's tripe.
Tripe.
There's tripe, which is intestine, but that's used more in Asian dishes. I don't know in like Latin or Spanish dishes.
Yeah. Well, they do. We use them in tacos, but the best way to tell if like a taco place is actually like good, it's the amount of meat you can get. You can actually get tripe. That's how we pronounce it. We can get tripe tacos. You can get lengua, which are tongue tacos. Like the more exotic, or cabeza, which is head tacos. Mm-hmm. So like, if you want to go to a good Mexican place, the more like options they give you like that, it's usually better.
I've had lengua tacos.
Interesting.
I love a good like carniceria. It's so good.
David, I need to know where to get tacos in Nashville.
Yeah, no shit, man. Mexican food here.
It's they're usually all around Antioch. Those are the best ones.
I was gonna say, it seemed like there was a bunch of legit like taquerias around here just driving.
There was one super close to where I used to live on East Side on Donaldson. Yeah, it's really good.
Like, God, dude, I miss Texas so much just for that alone. Like,
well, yeah. So I'm sorry I derailed us about protest.
David, it was nice to meet you, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was nice to meet you too. Chance, right?
Yeah. I'm sure we'll see each other.
Yeah. A couple more things and then we can wrap up. But the sex scene with the butcher was
I know you were stuck on that when I was talking to you last.
Yeah.
So he sleeps with the butcher before he ever sleeps with Jasmine.
And a little bit of
It's the same day, isn't it? It's the same day. He sleeps with the butcher and doesn't he go home and then
I don't think so. I don't think
No, he's about to sleep he's about to sleep with Jasmine.
Oh, and so he goes to, that's what I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah, he like backs out and he's like, okay, I need to find
He backs out of
else.
it. That's okay, thank you. Yeah.
So that scene really disturbed me because
it sounded like it was very emotionless.
The way, so a little bit of background, his relationship with this woman is she took his virginity in a very dominant way.
Oh,
she rode him and kind of just like, hey, we're doing this.
Okay.
When they were younger.
Okay.
And they have had like
sexual tension since then, basically.
Yeah, like kind of, but like also just like she is power dominant in their entire relationship.
In their dynamic, yeah.
She's just also a very dominant female. Like they make that clear that
that's right.
As a person takes what she wants no matter what.
She's got like a gimp of her own kind of.
Gimp is
Alex.
See you, David. Thanks for coming, man.
Hey, David.
Okay. Wow, man. Fuck.
It's not that.
I think I've known that girl.
An assistant. He's like an assistant, but she's a butcher.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I don't know. She might be fucking.
But she doesn't have to fuck him. He can still be her.
Oh, you mean the cuck in the corner watching through the window while they're having sex? Yeah.
That's right.
No. Oh no.
He's watching through the window the whole time.
Yeah, he's her gimp. Yeah, for sure.
Oh man.
Oh my
God. Like the dog.
Oh yeah, I think that's what it was.
The dog.
Yeah, I think that was his nickname.
That's what she.
Oh yeah, she called him like the dog or something like that. Yeah, because he just followed her around and yeah.
So do y'all think he was cattle that became like an assistant? Because she's a black market butcher. Like she's doing.
No, I think she's a domineering. Like she has a very like strong, domineering, heavy personality, and that can be infatuating to some people, and that's why her assistant is like, yes, ma'am, I'll do whatever you want, sort of deal.
That I need to find that.
No, you don't necessarily want that, dude.
I think it's also too because she's a black market butcher. You like, if you're working in shady business, you need somebody that's gonna be yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no matter what you're doing, no questions asked. Like, and then maybe she is giving him a little something on the side to keep him around. Like maybe that's why he's voyeuristic, watching from the window.
So, but she doesn't work at the plant. She's a
separate. Like has her own butcher shop.
All right. So even if he hooked up with her and fucked around with her, like it's not like he's like shitting where he eats or whatever. No, like he doesn't work. Okay. All right. There's
she probably might get meat or something from. Oh, what was that? Sorry.
Oh, I don't.
I just said there's depth to the story. Like there's clearly very many layers to this whole thing. Like it is not based on the impression that I got when I just read the synopsis before I came over here. I was like, man, I don't even think I can do this. And I mean, I'm gonna have to read the book now.
You have to.
Like, if nothing else, for just the catharsis of the conversation that we've all just had. But like,
yeah,
I mean, I have thoughts.
It will utterly disgust you.
Yeah, no, I get that from it 100%. And again, going back to kind of Alex's original point about the vegetarian thing or the animal rights deal, like, I agree with you. There's never been a point in my life where I thought, this is okay, unless maybe I hunted and killed the animal myself. If I ever actually had done that once in my life, I might feel like I had earned that. But other than that, like it is an empty argument. I could never argue in.
I think we have an issue in our society with not you, but like
the royal
people. Yeah. Yes, we have an issue in our society of trying to justify your actions.
Totally.
When not all actions are justifiable. Sometimes you do things that are wrong, and it makes it worse when you try to justify it.
Yep.
Alex, my next door neighbor breeds horses, and then he recently has bought some some calves, right? So he's got these 4 calves that are in this fence right across from my driveway. All right. And I know why he bought them. I know what's going to happen to them when they get bigger. He bought them for a very specific purpose. But every day when I come home, those 4 calves run to the fence to see me. And you know what? That just proves the point for where I stand right now.
Yeah, dude.
It's like unbelievable. They're like dogs. They run up to see me just like a dog, and it's just like, So I don't know. So I'm in that group of people that right now I'm not eating meat.
See, well, I mean, I guess I've dealt with that. I grew up riding horses and on farm property, and we had chickens. And I mean, the chickens did the same thing because they the whole Pavlov thing. They see you, they hear your voice, they come running. Oh, food time! But those chickens that we had at my facility, I knew what they are. They were food. And then I would see the trailer come. They put the little chickens in the thing, and they go away. We get the next batch of baby chickens, and I don't. Maybe because I was younger at the time, I just was like, okay, this is part of it. But there's definitely, like, as I've gotten older in the facility that we're at now, the owner does the same thing. But it's kind of weird and messed up, which is almost like what he did with Jasmine, is there's a couple of chickens that he keeps that are like the pet chickens of the barn. But then there's other chickens that get picked up and taken away.
Special, like, there is, that is
so it's like, it's literally the same as the book. Like, he's, Jasmine keeps as a pet because he feels bad, but then, like, all these other ones are getting.
There's some weirdly deep psychology to this story.
But then, for example, too, this also kind of feeds into this as well. As I have 2 young girls that are at my riding stable who went to an agricultural high school. They had to raise meat goats from babies and then take them to auction as their final project.
Right.
Both girls couldn't do it and begged the owner of the facility to keep these goats. 5 years later, he has both of these meat goats because he couldn't tell these little teenage girls no.
Wow. That is kind of cool.
Even though that's what they were going to school for, is to literally be farmers.
Right.
And they had to raise them to a certain weight, to a certain height, to do all this stuff, to take them to auction to sell for me. And both the girls backed out.
Wow. Yeah. That's cool.
They had to pay the school. They had to pay the school because it's a school property item.
For people that stand up for, like, what they feel and believe is right, that is cool. Like, that they did.
Yeah. But it's interesting, and the activist part of things, like I mean, they probably still eat meat, but it's interesting, like, that's what they went to school for, and yet they still could not do it.
Yeah. I'm not justifying any of it, but I also think there's like a sliding scale of ethics when it comes to eating animals. Like, I feel way better about eating a fish or a chicken than I do about eating a cow. No,
chickens are they're not that stupid. They know, like I said, like, I just went to go visit my mom. They know the sound of my mom's car alarm and came running to the fence and then followed her to the shed and knew that she was going to give them their food. And one of them wasn't there. She started calling its name. It came running out of the back. Like, that's the thing. You think, like, oh, it's a chicken. We make the jokes. They're not. No, they're kind of smart.
I'm sure they have a level of intelligence. I just don't.
Yeah. Aw, chickenator.
I feel like there is a scale, but it's like, if you have a level of like empathy towards animals in general, like, you start really thinking about it, and you start really, like, the only reason that fish is okay to me in my brain is because I remember some scientists saying that, oh, well, fish don't have nerve endings, so they don't feel shit. But, like, I've seen a fish gulping for air on the fucking dock.
I got a story about that.
Felt horrible about pulling the hook out of his mouth. So
my uncle took me fishing one time, and I was like, can you show me? I want survival skills. Like, teach me how to do the whole thing.
Yes.
And so he was telling me the thing about, like, when you kill it, it has to die in a specific way, otherwise it ruins the meat.
It fucks the meat up. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's also hard to skin.
Yeah.
Because it's tint.
Yeah.
So what he did anyway, is he put it in the sink and put this was catfish.
Huh.
This was catfish. So what he did is he filled the sink with water.
Yeah.
He put the catfish in it and slowly poured salt.
Interesting.
Into the water.
Basically euthanize it.
Basically, it's a freshwater fish that's now drinking salt water. And it flailed around, and, like, it definitely was not having a good time.
Sure.
Like,
But the whole thing about like the fear spoiling the meat is a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they have like they talk about, to kind of circle back in, when they're doing the walkthrough for like the employees and the time that they spend on the guy who's like really good at euthanizing the livestock.
Yeah.
That like he's been doing it for so long, and like he goes into detail about how swift he is and how like calm and elegant and this and that, and that's why their processing plant is one of like the top of the line processing plants, is because of this guy, because he can, get rid of this get rid of the product fast and also make sure it's of quality without getting tainted from fear.
Yeah.
And if an animal experiences that, how much more would a human being experience that fear and that level of taint? Like the amount of chemicals that would get dumped into your body and your muscles if you were terrified versus soothed and calm, and that is crazy.
Don't they talk about too, if I'm correct, like the ones that they end up having issues, they end up giving it to the scavengers, which I wanted to talk about that because that's an interesting concept of the scavengers along the fences of the production factories.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So Chance, there's these, they call them scavengers, and they're people who just basically eat whatever.
Okay.
They also, like, one of the big moments in the book is the scavengers take down a semi truck that is holding a bunch of livestock that is coming to the factory.
That's alive. Yeah.
And so like there's all these like humans running around because they tipped over the truck, and they're like, these scavengers are just knocking them out one by one and dragging them into the forest behind the plant. And then they also killed the truck driver so they could get them all, and it's just chaos ensues. And they go out there and have to like take out the scavengers. But then at the same time, there's too many of them, so they go, forget it. Everybody inside, let them take the product. This is going to be a loss.
Fuck. Okay, so they're literally like feral groups of people.
Feral people, yes.
Okay. Which again goes back to like my original sort of thought about the idea that cannibalism makes people. But they feed them.
They feed these people. Like they
feed them scraps. They feed them the humans that maybe got scared when they knocked them out, so the meat's not of quality. Or if they find out one of the humans is sick, has some sort of infection or something, they throw them to the scavengers. So that's also why these scavengers are kind of like messed up in the head, because they're getting fed tainted, expired, messed up meat.
Okay, which makes sense. So
at least that's what I grabbed from it. I don't know.
And in my head, I'm seeing like a plant the size of like a small town that's having to do this. So it's
think of a normal like factory, like a meat, like an industrial meat factory.
Does anyone want to talk about the cult, the church cult?
Oh, the sacrifice. Yeah, that was.
There's that going on too here.
There's a group of people that they want one person a year. Right, one person a year or once a month. What was it?
Can't remember, but yeah.
That sacrifices themselves. They go to the plant, the processing plant, and they have like a deal signed that they go in like their little red or white, like they go in the robe, they do their little prayer, and then they're supposed to get slaughtered for the god.
So they're giving themselves up willingly. The sacrifice itself, it gives itself up willingly.
But as soon as they sign that paper, they regret it.
Yeah.
All of them.
And then they're in that moment and they regret
it. They're not bred to be stupid. They're people from the
cult. These are normal people that like live in the city, in the town, but they are part of a religious like cult.
Okay.
That this is in order to like appease God and to justify what they're doing, one person has to be sacrificed.
Right. And religion would have had to have died in like all forms by this point for this to
be changed significantly into what how this is.
Yeah. Because I mean,
so page 128. I, Gaston Chafe, authorize my body to be used as food for other people, and contains a signature and ID number. Gaston Chafe steps forward in his red tunic. He's a 70-year-old man. Gaston Chafe smiles and recites the Church of the Immolations Creed passionately and with conviction. The human being is the cause of all evil in this world. We are our own virus. All the church members raise their hands and shout, "Virus!"
Whoa.
Gaston continues, we are the worst kind of vermin, destroying our planet, starving our fellow man. Fellow man, shout the church members. My life will truly take on meaning once my body feeds another human being, one who truly needs it. Why waste my protein value in a meaningless cremation? I've lived my life, that's good enough for me. In unison, all the church members shout, save the planet, immolate yourself. A few months back, a young woman had been chosen for sacrifice. In the middle of the church's discourse, Marie came downstairs shouting. A young woman committing suicide was an atrocity, she said. No one was saving the planet. The whole thing was nonsense. She wouldn't allow a bunch of lunatics to brainwash a woman so young. They should be embarrassed, maybe consider mass suicide. And if they really wanted to help, why didn't they donate all their organs? A church of the immolation whose members were alive was utterly grotesque, she shouted, until finally he wrapped his arms around her and took her to another room. So that I highlighted that because that one was really powerful.
Yeah.
So the old man.
Yeah, they think. Oh, go ahead, Chance.
No, the old man gave himself up, but like the church sometimes just gives people up against their will.
This young woman had also sacrificed herself.
No, they go kind of through a process of how somebody gets chosen. Like somebody either willingly or they choose somebody. They kind of describe it, but not too much. But somebody gets chosen, no matter whether it's an old man, a young woman, young man, middle age, whatever. Somebody gets chosen to sacrifice. But two things is, so they go through that whole thing, and the main character, what they don't know is after that they're executed, they're fed to the scavengers.
Oh fuck. So
they're not processed to go to the grocery store to feed humankind. They toss their bodies to the scavengers.
Even though that's clearly what they think they're doing.
They think they're going to the supermarket afterwards. Yeah, no, they're getting tossed out back.
That's fucking awful. Okay, and then to get back to the starting opening lines of what he just read, to me that resounded very much of like Agent Smith in the first Matrix, where he says to Lawrence Fishburne, where he's talking to Morpheus, and he says, human beings are a cancer of this planet. You are a disease. And he's talking about a virus and how human beings are a virus that continually spreads and just takes over everything and doesn't ever give anything back. Like the start of that speech very much brought that to my mind.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I mean that was the whole point on why they kind of talk about that in the background on. That's why they started this in the first place. Was to population control and to because I think that also is an interesting part that we haven't talked about is how he keeps going back to the abandoned zoo and talking about what the zoo used to be like and what the zoo represented. He keeps going back to this abandoned zoo that he used to go with his dad. And in particular, he goes to the atrium where all the birds used to be and talking about like all the colorful birds and everything that used to fly around there and the life that used to be there. And now it's this desolate, hollowed out of what once was. And that's usually the time when he's pondering, is this a psyop? Is it really real? And then that's, of course, when he interacts with the puppies and all that. And because also his dad used to just be a normal butcher, and then as things started getting phased out, he saw the decline of his dad's like mental health and life and all that, and he has this very like him and his sister have this very like strained relationship with their dad because he ends up having like a mental decline and is in a home, and he actually passes away during the book.
He lost his sanity too.
He lost his sanity because of what happened. Yeah.
Which that would make sense for the first generation that would be dealing with it. So he was a butcher who butchered regular.
A normal butcher for cow, pig, whatever. And then this started, and then the virus happened, and then it got approved, and the dad was just like, I'm not going to serve people.
Right.
And he lost his mind. Yeah. Right. And so he gets put in a home. Eventually he ends up, so when the main character is like in the atrium, he's talking and thinking about all of that. On how it's caused and is it the right thing, and
there is no brightness to this book. It is all bleak.
Clearly. Also, the crazy part of how they have to cremate people like normal people because otherwise scavengers will dig the bodies up out of the graves and eat them.
Yeah,
that's a detail that I wouldn't even think about until you said it, but now it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They're like, we expedite the cremation process now.
Yeah, they literally tell you if you're not here at 2 p.m. too bad, we're still cremating him, and then like good luck, like. Because it's like a cog, it's a machine, it just keeps going.
The part with the dogs and the puppies, is that the only time you actually see an animal in the story?
You see
There's
birds.
some birds, but that's the most interaction they have with anybody has with animals.
There's no indication. Yeah, so this could totally just be bullshit. Like it could all be a psyop.
It could be a psyop.
Yeah.
Just turn people into cannibals.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking wow.
And it's a strange concept, but it's kind of like one of those concepts where I think the author went like, how would this happen? Like here's a concept. Now I have to figure out how it works.
How it worked, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me get back to this too. This was the only other thought that I had. This book was published in like 2016, 2017. So
yeah, it's
pre-pandemic though. So what it's describing is exactly the same type of mentality that we went into with the pandemic and the insanity that just escalated. Like she's literally describing another circumstance, but a just as easy way that society could be pushed into a fucked up situation that is not normal. Like that's weird to think about, because like the way that it sounds like she describes the process and how the indoctrination and just the whole way that society has come to accept this is very realistic in a lot of ways, unfortunately.
Right. Well, and Rusty brought it up, and they bring it up in the book. He brings up like the first time mad cow disease happened. He brings it up in the book. Like she puts it in there about how back in whenever mad cow disease happened,
people are freaking the fuck out.
Right. But she brings that up in the book, and then they say like this was round 2, and then they realized it wasn't manageable, or they were able to get rid of it. That's when the process started.
Yeah, because when the mad cow thing happened, they were like the ranchers were segregating their cattle, and it was like a whole thing where
so when these teenagers are killing these puppies, they're throwing them in the air and hitting them with bats. And
I wanted to go into the book and beat them with the bats.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say no. I'm those fuckers are dead.
Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, the author is like, oh, I know this is going to elicit emotion more
people. Yeah.
The fact that they're killing puppies, this is what's going to hit people.
And Rusty kind of said that earlier, that like you felt like she was writing to the point where it was like she knows that this is going to get a visceral rise from like the most lizard part of our brain that says, no, fuck you, I'm going to kill you. Like,
yeah, the thing that.
But then they go into detail of like how they kill the humans, and it's just like, oh, that's fucked up.
And it's completely like just completely flipped.
All of that's fucked up, but kill the puppies, absolutely not.
Assholes, burn them.
It's weird to think about the fact that our media has desensitized us to the point to where we're totally fine watching John Wick shoot 1,500 people in the fucking head, but we're pissed off that they killed his one dog.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm gonna say I didn't like it. Definitely messed with me though. Was the hunting a person, the whole like the reservation or the reserve where they go hunting people, like the whole dangerous game thing, like that bothers me. That's some weird, like all of it's bothering and unsettling. But the fact that this is for fun, for sport, for like, because these people are being trained that this is for survival to eat. But these people are straight up just doing it for fun. And also I think his name is Robert Hansen. There was a guy, a serial killer that lived in Alaska that literally did that. Would capture women and then release them in the Alaskan wilderness and hunt them down.
No fucking way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. And it's just thinking about that that people would have the mindset to do that. That's what was really bothering. And like when they bring up like, oh, the pregnant ones, they're more fun and we get to do this. It's like, oh no, that's gross. It's like, it's already bad that you're eating them and now you want to play with your food.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, no.
You know what's weird about the book, though, when going back to the puppies versus the whole thing with the people, the book sets you up so well in the fact that this is the new normal, right? That when the puppy thing happens, those boys, those teenage boys are being cruel to them. They're having fun killing these puppies, right? So it definitely elicits a different response than the whole time. Hey, they've been butchering people in this book, and that was gross in the whole thing. But it elicited a different response when somebody was being cruel to an animal. That was just the process they described to you on all the other stuff, which is absolutely disgusting. But it still elicits a very different response.
I see what you're saying. The difference of the way that she describes the process of the human butchering versus that instance where it's like, you know, that they're doing it just for the cruelty. I see what you're saying.
And in that page 152, one of the teenagers gets bit by a puppy. these puppies have this virus.
Right.
So here's the conversation takes place. The teenagers laugh at first, but then they grew still and silent. You're going to die, idiot. I told you to grab it by the neck. Now you have the virus. You're contaminated. You're going to die. The others all took a few steps back in fear. The virus is a lie, dickheads. But the government. What about the government? You don't actually believe that a lot of corrupt leeches, the fucking motherfuckers we have for a government? No, but there were people who died. Don't be an idiot. Can't you see they're controlling us? If we eat each other, the control over population, poverty, crime.
They know.
No, hold on. Do you want me to keep going? I mean, it's obvious. Yeah, like in that movie that was banned, where at the end everyone's eating each other and they don't know it. So that I think that's a reference to Soylent Green.
Soylent Green, yeah.
Soylent Green, yeah.
Yeah,
it's 100% Soylent Green, which they would have banned in this society.
Of course.
Yeah.
But, okay, so what you just read to me says that even the bottom generation,
the kids understand
they
this.
fucking know that it's
even
bullshit.
The kids know this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Did they leave their buddy alive or did they kill him? Does it say?
So the main character is watching this interaction.
Yeah.
And he drives away.
Okay, so we don't see what happens.
We don't see a resolution.
But those friends could very easily just turn on their friend.
They could have killed him.
Beat the shit out of him.
I mean, clearly they don't value human life, right?
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude. Whoa. Man.
So there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is the guy who runs the hunt, the game.
Oh,
and I had it. I lost it.
It's like some Squid Game shit right there, man.
But the guy who does all of the game hunting, it's like his land, and he has
it's like a preserved, like fucking predator.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's got his own preserve.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. His name's Erlet or Erlet. I think it's French.
Probably Erlet.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Dude, this is so fucked up. Page 137, the start of chapter 4, or part 2, chapter 4. Have you ever eaten something that's alive? There's a vibration, a subtle and fragile heat that makes a living being particularly delicious. You're extracting life by the mouthful. It's a pleasure of knowing that because of your intent, your actions, this being has ceased to exist. It's the feeling of a complex and precious organism expiring little by little and also becoming part of you for always. I find this miracle fascinating, this possibility of an indissoluble union.
That's some black magic shit, dude.
This is the darkest character in the book. He's got human heads he's got this fucking heads mounted on the wall. And he's having celebrities out. Like there's this rock star who is there to pay off some gambling debt or something. I
heard y'all talking about that earlier. Yeah.
And they're like, after he eats his tongue, and he's like, everyone at the table is like, oh, sing us a song. Sing us one of his songs.
Fuck, man.
Like they're making jokes about it.
Dude, because that's the whole thing is like people who have like the stories that I've read about cannibalism in the past is like there was a belief, and this is part of the Wendigo mythology that goes back to Native American shit, that like if a person ate another person, especially an enemy that you killed in battle, you gained the strength of that enemy. Like that's fucked up.
Well, here, Alex, this is an interesting part too of like this character where it's on 138. He goes, Erlet is sitting against the tall back of an armchair made of dark wood. Behind him hangs half a dozen human heads, his hunting trophies. He always clarifies to whoever will listen that over the years, these were the toughest heads to hunt. Those that pose monstrous and invigorating challenges.
Jesus.
Whew. Yeah.
Next to the heads hang photographs.
Sentence is extremely fucked up.
Yeah. It hangs photographs. They're antique photographs of Black people being hunted in Africa before the transition. The largest and sharpest images show of a white hunter down on his knees with a rifle. So it shows you that this guy was already like this or into this. His lineage was doing this before this happened.
Right.
And
which goes back to running in families and being genetic.
Mm-hmm.
And in this society, absolutely, the psychopaths would rise to the top.
Oh yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
Whoa, fuck.
Yeah, that's the whole book is just
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you guys can, like I said, thank technically Leandra and her I forget what it's called. I think it's like Miss Horror Cult or something like that. She's on TikTok. She does very, very like all very dark books like this. She reads and then does reviews. And so I have a long list because
cool
of that I have and I'm reading. So I got it from her and I figured I'd share.
I mean, let me know what you want to do for the next one.
So do each of y'all make a suggestion each month? Is that kind of how this works?
I just hopped in randomly by telling Alex, like, hey, you need to read this at some point. And he was like, would you want to make it one of the books for the month? And I said, okay.
Cool.
Next month we're reading Starship Troopers.
Which I have read like 20 years ago. So I'll be interested to revisit.
I think this will be different than what we just read.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've never read the book, but I love the movie.
Yeah, the movie's great, but like if I would be interested to hear someone's opinion about the book that hasn't seen the movie.
I can't wait.
It's a well done film in the context of the book, but like the book is way better, of course. Yeah.
That'll be me because I've not seen the movie or read the book. So
watch the movie before you read that book. Don't watch it. Watch it because it's great. But you gotta, I love to hear your opinion about the book.
That was Tender is the Flesh. Well, we'll definitely if you have more horror recommendations, Jess, we'll get around to them. This one was great, and I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I mean, I have a lot of them. It just depends on how depraved you want to go down the rabbit hole.
Does it get worse than that?
My husband does not enjoy some of the books that sit on our coffee table. He's like, "Why do you do this?" I'm like, "Because it's entertaining to me."
Well, give me.
I'm sorry.
you give me like an example because like I've read some weird shit, but like
one of the absolute worst I've read so far is Playground.
Is that
it's considered splatterpunk.
Okay.
It is very rough, but it has a very interesting like undertone to the story. It's really good, but it's very, very, very gross and very uncomfortable and very sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a splatterpunk. Like it's one of the few splatterpunks that's not just to be a shock value. Like it actually has some story behind it. But if you don't want to, deal with children death, I don't recommend it.
I'll read literally anything you recommend.
But I mean, I have quite a few that I'm going through right now. One of the books I'm finishing. I have not made a full decision on it yet. It's called The House on Needless Street. It's very interesting. I can't really speak on it quite yet. I'm like probably at least have like 150 pages left on it, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
We have a special visitor, Rusty's cat.
Yeah.
I see.
She's annoying, but
Love it. Well, what was this before we finish? What was each big takeaway from the book?
For me, it was the rhetoric, the ability to completely. That was the most interesting part to me, is the way you can make eating humans palatable, normalized. You can. That's the way they did that. I'm like, yeah, that's possible. Yeah. You could really do this. That was it for me.
Seems realistic.
Two things for me. I agree with that statement. One, I think the rhetoric is absolutely a strong point in the book. It also relates to a lot of things that we see now with how people can be fed information and they begin to believe it when it's not really the truth. Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is I still think at the heart of this thing is an animal rights activist message. And that part works for me.
Yeah.
What's your cat's name, Rusty?
Oh, it's Lexi.
She's got a stripper name.
Lexi, yeah.
No offense.
Liz, Hyatt, y'all got any closing remarks for Tender is the Flesh?
For me, it was just I don't know. I think Hyatt touched on this earlier, but human beings kind of suck. Like in the moment, we're out for ourselves and we're doomed.
Yeah.
I hate to feel that way, but I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
What about you, brother?
What you got, Hyatt?
Take
out.
Already threw my
Because she agreed with you, so
Yeah.
And I hate to echo that, but man, like as I get older, I feel very strongly that like 90% of people suck, and there's 10% that are trying to do better, and those are the people that I want to be friends with.
Yeah. I think being kind to each other is I'm a very revolutionary person. I'm like, we need radical change. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I can't do that. All I can do is be nice to the people around me and spread that outwards as far as I can. So I appreciate everyone here tonight. It means a lot to me that y'all read this and sat down and talked to me about it. I love all of you. And before we go, does Cassette Stress have any shows coming up? Want to plug?
Yeah, we got one on Saturday at Springwater, and then we got some in June.
Where's that?
That's a white swag. So yeah, we got one on Saturday, Springwater.
Very cool.
Where's Springwater?
It's right next to the Parthenon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Saturday's May the 4th, so that's Star Wars Day, but like totally.
May the 4th be with you.
Not quite. That's the other, but yeah, sure.
Is anyone coming? Jess, are you going to be there Friday for Josh's?
Oh yeah,
I am obligated. I am obligated to be there because one, my husband's playing. Two, one of our really, really good friends, Robert, is performing. He's flying out from California to perform.
Yeah. I'll see you there then.
Go to the Underdog Friday and then go to Springwater Saturday. And we will see you next week for a regular episode, but then end of next month for Starship Trooper. Excited about this. I need this after what I just read. So.
Yeah,
there you go. Good. It'll be a good palate cleanse. Some good sci-fi fun.
We'll get back to seriously fucked up shit at some other point. But
yeah, we'll give you a couple palate cleansers. I have a couple more I need to read through, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah. We'll have to do this again. Thanks for the recommendation, Jess. That was great.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here to see y'all.
Yeah, what?
What's your cat's name?
Oh, this is Lucifer.
Of course it is. Fucking course
See
it
you
is.
Guys. See you
Bye, guys.
Later.
That's fucking great, man.